I want to talk about intergenerational pain and how it is like a giant game of hot potato. So let's just start with, what is intergenerational pain? Intergenerational pain is pain that is passed down from one generation to the next, to the next, to the next. And when I say pain, what I'm talking about are things like low self-esteem, anxiety, depression, anger, feeling mistrustful of the world, any feelings or behaviors or beliefs that are painful. And these pains are so compelling and so strong that they impact who we become and they impact how we are in the world. So now I want you to imagine your family tree, right? So you're sort of down towards the bottom. There's lots of people above you. Maybe there's some people below you. I want you to imagine that at some point, somebody above you in your family tree got handed a hot potato. A hot potato is one of these pains that we're talking about. And at the end, I'll talk about how we get handed the hot potato. But for now, I want you to imagine, great-great-great-grandmother got handed a hot potato. The potato is hot, right? It's painful. They don't want to hold it anymore. So at some point, they throw it to the next person in line. Here's the thing about hot potatoes. You only throw them to a person who's less powerful than you are. That's the only person who's going to take your hot potato, right? Nobody who's as powerful as you is going to want to take a painful hot potato. So we tend to throw our hot potatoes to our kids because they're less powerful than we are, right? And kids tend to take in anything their parents give them. Kids just soak in whatever their parents say, whatever their parents do, however their parent treats them. Kids take it all in. So this is how the potato gets passed from parent to kid. Kids just internalize the pain that their parents give them. So the parent is holding the hot potato. It's painful. They don't want it anymore. They throw it to their kid. In how they treat their kid and what they teach their kid and what they expect of their kid, all of this passes the hot potato on to their kid. The kid now has this hot potato. It's painful. The hot potato impacts who they are, who they become, and how they act in the world. And that is going to perpetuate the hot potato. That means that the hot potato is then eventually going to get thrown to the next person in line, which is their kid. And the potato, because it's invisible and because it's so painful, it just keeps getting passed and passed and passed instead of being dealt with. And that's what I want to talk about next is, how do you deal with a hot potato? How do you not pass it down? Well, first of all, you have to see it. You have to acknowledge that something is getting passed from generation to generation to generation. Once you see it, you have to be willing to hold on to it for a minute, to not pass it on to the next person. You have to be willing to do the work of dealing with it and coping with it and kind of cooling down this hot potato. So what do I mean by cooling down a hot potato? It's not something that you're probably going to get completely rid of. If you're a very anxious person, if you have low self-esteem, you still may have anxiety from time to time. You still may have low self-esteem from time to time. But the point is, when the pain shows up, when the potato shows up, you see it for what it is. You see it as something that was just handed to you. It wasn't something that you deserved. It was just, you were next in line. And that's why you got the potato. Once you can see that, it makes it a little easier to unhook from it. We know that we didn't deserve it. So when we can see that, we can start to kind of cool our potato down. We can start to notice that the anxiety is here, but instead of reacting to the anxiety the same way that we always do, we now have a little bit of space. We can see it for what it is, and that allows us to kind of respond to it differently. If we go do our work, if we go to therapy or read the books or listen to the podcasts or do whatever our work is, we can learn how to respond to our potatoes differently. And that helps us to not pass them to the next generation. So before I end, I want to just say something quickly about, how do we get the hot potatoes in the first place? Well, that can happen in a million different ways, but typically we get a hot potato, again, which is a painful feeling, a painful belief, or a painful behavior or way of being in the world. We get our hot potatoes, generally speaking, from how our parents treat us. So, let's just say somewhere up in your family tree, great-great-great-grandmother, her mom, let's just say her mom's husband died. This great-great-great-grandmother's father died, and that left this mother alone with very little resources, very little way to pay bills and take care of her kids. And so now maybe what was a wonderful, communicative, warm family has become a really stressed, smaller family with less communication going on. The mom doesn't have as much time to take care of the kids or to give the kids time. So maybe your great-great-great-grandmother developed low self-esteem as a result. And that low self-esteem is the potato that ended up getting handed down. Another way that hot potatoes get created is when there are sort of large-scale events in the world. So if there's a war, if there's a famine, if there's a genocide going on, all of these things create potatoes that a whole generation will hold the same potato. So when you become aware of the hot potatoes that you're holding, if you can start to trace them back and see kind of maybe where they originated and what caused them to originate, that actually helps to do this work of distancing from the potato, of unhooking from it. The potato doesn't have so much power, it's not quite as hot when you can see that it actually has nothing to do with you. It started generations back. So as you do this work of healing from your intergenerational pain, consider seeing it as a hot potato and thinking about the fact that you were only handed the hot potato because you were next in line. That might really help you to start cool the potato down and respond to it differently.